So in the last session, we have seen how to handle alerts by using switching command driver.switch2.alert. Now today we'll see how to handle frames, or we can also call them as a iFrames. Okay. So first of all, let us see what is frame and what is iframe and what is the difference. So most of the people will think both are exactly the same, but actually they are not exact same. But the way of handling the frames and iframes is exactly the same in Selenium especially. Okay. So what is a frame and what is a iframe? And especially when you are working with the desktop applications, not web applications, especially when you're working desktop applications. Let us say you have one small application. Just a second. Okay. And let's say you have some page like this. And inside the page, you will have different type of elements. And sometimes what we'll do is same type of elements we will keep in a different place, or we can separate them as a group. Let us say here we will keep some elements, and here we'll keep another elements, and here I'll keep another elements. So we will divide the elements into different groups, and those elements will keep in separate section, which is called frame. Okay, these are all frames, and especially in the desktop applications. Okay, and when you come to web applications, this particular content is there in the frame, right? So that is actually a different web page. Okay, different web page, and that particular web page we are embedding into the actual web page. So this is the actual web page that we are showing or that we are displaying in the current web page. Let's say this is another web page, and this is another web page, and these pages are having different URLs also, and we will showcase all the pages in one single page. That is external page again, and this is called iframe. This is called iframe. That means some web page we are displaying in another web page, and we are embedding this page into another web page. And when you embedded this page into another web page, the tag name of this frame is iframe or frame, or sometimes it will be form. So these are the different tag names you can see for the frame. It can be iframe, or it can be frame, or it can be form. Okay. So if the elements are present inside the iframe or inside the frame or inside the form, the problem is we cannot directly inspect those elements. Okay. So for example, let's say this is my web page. This is my actual main web page, and here this is another page, and this is an embedded page which is coming from external source. So this is actual web page. We are displaying the same page here, and which contains some elements. Okay, and if this page is as an external page, we can access everything directly. But once you embedded this page or embedded this into this page as a form, okay, or this is a frame, and these elements we cannot directly interact. So why? Because our driver is always focused on the page level, page, the entire page. But this page contains this particular frame, right? So this frame contains some more elements. So our driver cannot go from page to this particular frame directly. So we cannot directly inspect these elements. We cannot directly perform any actions on these elements. So now what we need to do is, if you want to interact with these elements inside the frame, we have to switch our driver from page to frame, page to iframe. That means we have to switch to iframe. And once you switched, then we can interact with the elements as usual, just like a normal way. Okay, and once you are done this, again, we have to go back to the main page, because our driver still focused only on the frame. Once you switched it, our driver is there only in the frame. Once your job is done here, and then again, you have to come back to the actual page. So what is the command which we have to switch to the frame is driver dot, this is another switching command, switch to dot frame. This is the command. But what is the parameter we have to pass here? We can pass ID of the frame, or we can pass name of the frame. Sometimes ID, name, properties, or attributes we can directly find in HTML. So we can pass ID of the frame, or we can pass name of the frame, or we can identify this entire frame as a web element that you can pass it here. So name, ID, or we can directly pass as a web element. So these are the three different options are there, three different flavors. We can directly pass ID if there is an ID here in the double quotes, or if the name is available for the frame, directly you can pass name. And if ID name is also not available, then we can find this entire frame as a one single web element that you can pass inside the frame. Okay, this is a process. Now we'll see practically. We clear this. So first, let us start with, I'll show you multiple examples. And also we have inner frame concept. If you have a frame which contains another frame, so how can we handle elements? And once our driver is enter into the frame, how we can again come back to the page. So for every option, so we have different methods. We will see one by one. So first, let us start with one example. So I'm taking this page. It's a sample demo page. It open three different pages actually. So somehow. Okay. So it is not giving any frame. So let us take one more example. Let me take another web page. Actually, that page is got changed. Okay, now let us take some other application. So if I look at here, there are different frames are there in this page. This is all one single page. This will give you the entire page. And here, this is frame 1, which is highlighting with yellow color. Frame 2 is green color. Frame 3 is a blue color. Frame 4 is gray color. Frame 5 is another blue color. So these are the different frames. So totally 5 frames are there in this page. And again, in the frame 3, there is another form. You can see this is iframe inside frame. So this is actually another frame. In the frame 3, this is another form. Okay. So this is the page. So now let's see how can we handle this. So I want to enter some text inside this box, frame 1 input box. And this input box is present inside the frame 1. So before that, let us try to see the elements in the dev tools. If I inspect this page, and this is the HTML. You can see here frame set. Frame set contains a number of frames. And if you expand here, this is a frame. And again, the frame set contains another frame set. These are the two different frames. And this is a frame 1 actually. This is a line which is representing frame 1. And if we expand this, there's a document inside this. Again, one more HTML, body, center. There are many things are there. Okay. So whenever you see the iframe, you can see tag name as a frame or iframe. Sometimes you can say iframe as a tag name. Okay, so now let's see how to interact with this element from the frame one. And go back to your Eclipse, create a new class, sorry, new package. Day 30. Handle frames. Okay, very important concept. Listen this carefully. Okay, so first we created driver instance, and after that we launch our application, and then I have maximized this application. Now, so step number one, we need to interact with the this particular element. Okay, I'm not switching to the frame, so let us directly inspect this element, and we'll see directly how can we interact with this and what kind of exception you are getting. So basically this is the input tag. Okay, and this is a Xpath of this element. Get this Xpath and try to find that element. Driver dot find element by dot Xpath, and here I want to pass some text here. Let's say welcome. Okay, let's execute this statement. And this element is currently inside the frame. Okay, it is not done. So let us see the exception. So it is saying no such element exception. So why it is saying no such element exception? Because this element is part of the frame. So that is the reason it is unable to find the element with this locator, right? So if I go back to the selector hub, the selector hub also will very much help you here. It is clearly saying this particular element is inside the iframe. Okay, so this will help you. So if you don't know this element is part of the frame or not, as soon as you trying to inspect this element, the selector hub, you can see this alert message. This element is inside the iframe. So switch inside the iframe to access it through automation, right? So it is clearly saying that. So also another advantage of this is it is also giving the XPath of that particular iframe. You can see that. Okay, in the first line, it is also giving the XPath of the particular frame. In whichever frame this element is present, that frame XPath is giving here. So that is a more advantage of the using of selector. And you don't need to worry which frame it is available, whether it is available in the frame or not. You don't need to worry. So it will automatically generate an XPath, and also it will clearly say it is in iframe. And because we want to switch to the iframe first, for that we need element. So this is XPath of the iframe also given directly here. Okay, now what we need to do is before interacting with this element, we need to switch to the iframe. So to switch to the iframe, we have three different flavors. Okay, one is by using driver instance, we can use switch to dot frame, and if name of the frame available, you can directly pass the name here. Or if the ID attribute is available for the frame, you can directly pass ID in the double quotes. And if ID name is not available, you can pass that frame as a web element. So we need to find that frame as a web element first, and then we have to pass. So these are the three methods are there. Same method, but with different parameters. Overloading concept is applied here. Same frame method, but here name we can pass, ID we can pass, or web element you can pass. These are the three different flavors. Now I'll show you all three. First of all, let us switch to the frame one. So how to switch is driver dot switch to dot frame. You can see these are the three options. Frame, and here we can pass the frame, and one more also there. If you don't have name ID web element, we can also use index, frame index also you can use. This is another option which we have. Okay, I'll show you that. So first thing, let us see what are the attributes of the frame here. So if you look at here, this is a frame, first frame. And what are the attributes are there for this? Only src attribute is there. Src frame underscore one dot html. So our selector hub is given this frame Xpath, right? This is absolute Xpath, not partial Xpath, right? So you can use this, or if you want to create your own Xpath for this particular frame, you can create your own frame. So you can say this is a frame, and you can create your own Xpath. How to create your own Xpath? / frame at the rate. What is the attributes are available? src is available. So src equal to, okay, in the singular double quotation, specify the value of src, that is frame underscore one dot html. So this is also matching with the first frame. Okay, so you can also you can create your own Xpath. So let's go back, and now here I will pass that Xpath you can pass, but you cannot directly pass. We have to get the frame as a web element. So driver dot find element by dot Xpath, and you can here you can pass the Xpath. Okay, so that will return the element. What is that element? Frame one. So this is a web element. This is a web element. All right, now we can just import this web element. Now this frame one we have to pass here. So which option we have used here is we have passed frame as a web element. Passed frame as a web element. Okay, so this is the third option. This is the option we have used. Because ID name directly not available, so we have chosen the third option, web element. So this command will switch to the frame one. Switch to frame one. So once it is switched, we can interact with the elements. Now this is the element which is present inside the frame one. So this is frame one. All right, let's execute. Okay, now we can see this enter value is got entered. So first we need to switch to the frame, and once it is switched, then we can interact with the elements. Now I'll show you something else. On the same web page, I have another frames. Okay, now my requirement is I already switched to the first frame and have interacted with this element input box. From there, I want to switch to frame 2. Okay, I want to switch to frame 2. Here also I can enter some value. How to do this? Okay, so let us inspect the frame 2 element. So when inspecting this frame 2 element, and this is also part of the frame, right? So this is also, it is giving alert. This element is inside the iFrame. Okay, so let us capture this element. Okay, now I'm dealing with the frame 2. So I'm not switching to the frame 2. I'm directly trying to interact with the element. So driver dot find element by dot Xpath of the input box dot send keys. Okay, and here I pass some text called Selenium. Okay, just observe what we have done. In the first step here, we have captured the frame element, first frame, switch to the frame, and then we perform the operation. So currently, where is our driver present? in the first frame. It is locked in the first frame itself. But here still I'm trying to interact with the element in the frame 2, right? So just look at this, what kind of exception you will get. So first frame, it is successfully switched and provided the value. Now if I go back and see the exception here, it is still trying to interact with the second element, this element. It is saying no such element exception. So which one? This is the element. So why it is saving no such element exception? Because our driver is still present inside the iframe itself, frame 1 itself. And first of all, it is not come out from frame 1. And also it is not switched to frame 2. Because of these two reasons, it is not able to interact. So first step, what we need to do, once you have done the job in the frame 1, again, we have to go back to the page. We have to come out from the frame and go back to the page. So for this, what we need to do is we have another command here, driver dot switch to dot default content. This particular method will go back to page. Okay, so currently here we are in the frame 1. So our driver is locked inside the frame 1. So we need to come out, our driver should come from the frame 1. So this command will do that, driver dot switch dot default content. After that, we need to go to frame 2 and then we will able to interact. So it will be like this. So we cannot directly switch to one frame to another frame. So let us say this is the entire web page. And here this is frame 1. This is the frame 2. First, we switch it to the frame 1 and we have done some operations. And from there, immediately we cannot switch to the frame 1. This is not possible. So from here, we need to go back to the page and then switch to the second frame. Okay, so this is the process. So we cannot directly switch to one frame to another frame. And for switching back to the page, the command is what? Driver dot switch to dot default content. Switch to dot default content. So this is the one method which we need to remember. Okay, so here we switch back to the main page, but still we're able to interact with this element or not? Still no, right? Because we haven't switched it to the second frame. So here we have to first switch to the second frame and go back. And if you're inspecting the second frame, so I go back here. Let us see what is the attributes of the second frame. So this is the frame set. And if I look at this is the first frame. And I think in the frame set, there is a second frame available. Yes, this is the one. Frame 2, 3, 4, right? So this is a frame 2. This is a second frame. So let us write Xpath for this. / frame and at the rate src equal to frame 2 frame underscore 2 dot html. So this is the frame 2 element. One element is matching. Let us see this. So now we need to switch to the second frame. Driver dot switch to dot frame and pass this frame element. This is a web element actually. We cannot directly specify that. So we need to first capture the frame as a web element. Okay, driver dot find element by dot Xpath. And this is a frame 2 element actually. Frame 2. And the type of this is web element. So we have captured the frame as a web element. Okay, now once you have captured, then you have to pass it inside this frame. So we need to switch to the frame. So driver dot switch to dot frame. And here we have to pass frame 2. So this command will switch to frame. Okay, sometimes if you have ID or name attribute, so this is not needed actually. So here you can directly, suppose in the double quotes, you can directly put ID. Some ID value is XYZ. So you can directly put XYZ like this. If the name is available, if the name is ABC, then you can pass ABC like this. Directly you can put in the double quotes. And you don't need to write any locator. Okay. But if it is not available, then you can go directly with the frame to like this. So we need to get the frame as a web element, and then we have to pass it. Okay, so once you switch it to the frame 2, then we are able to interact with this element. Now execute. Yes, you can see the first element in the first frame, second element in the second frame. We are successfully able to locate and perform the action. So like this, we can switch to any other frames. Like we can switch to the frame 4, we can switch to the frame 5, and we can switch to the frame 3. And every frame there is an input box. So we can directly switch to them and we can interact with the elements. But once you switch to the first frame, you have to come back to the page. Again, once you switch to the frame 2, we perform the action. After that, what we need to do again, we go back to the main page. So again, we have to use this command. Switch to dot default content. So one more time, this will go back to the page. Okay, so these two are the direct frames. We have switched to the frame 1 and then perform the action and come back. Again, we switch to the frame 2, we perform action and then we come back. Now, I'm going to show you something else. Sometimes a frame contains another iframe. Okay, if the frame contains another iframe. So this is another iframe actually. If you look at here. So this frame 3 contains one element here. And this is a iframe. Okay, so inside this frame 3, there is a iframe. Okay, so actually these are all the different web pages, and every web page is put in one single page, right? So how we will know that? If we just inspect this, and this is an address of the first frame. If you click on this address, copy this, or you can just see HTML frame underscore 1.html is there, right? So that is a SRC link actually. If you just copy link address and open this link in another page, so you can see this is the actual page. This is the yellow page. This we embedded into this frame. Okay, this is the actual URL of the frame. Similarly, if I go to frame 2, okay, in the frame 2, you can see this is a frame 2. SRC is having some attribute, right? If I just copy link address and open this another web page, so this is the actual frame 2. So this is also embedded into the current web page. So like this, there are multiple web pages are embedded into one single web page in the form of frames. Okay. Similarly, this is also iframe. This is also some external web page, which is part of frame 3. Okay. So let us see how to interact with the inner iframe. This is the most important part. How to interact with the inner iframe. So the next concept. So first we'll go to frame 3 because frame 3 contains the inner iframe. Okay, so in the iframe 3, we have an input box, right? So let us try to inspect this input box and interact. And once it is done, let us try to interact with this iframe, which is also part of frame 3. So let us inspect this frame 3 element. Okay, so this is the Xpath of the element, which is there in the frame 3. Go back and now driver dot find element by dot xpath dot send keys here Java. So we cannot directly interact with this, so we have to switch to the frame. So if you want to switch to the frame, you have to capture the frame as a web element. So this is the frame 3. For this, we need to write an XPath. So we are writing our own relative XPath //frame @src equal to frame underscore 3 dot html. Okay, one element is matching. So this is a locator for frame 3 that we have to capture. So driver dot find element by dot XPath. Okay, and this we are going to store in a element. This is frame 3 element, and this is a web element. Okay, now we need to switch to this frame 3. So how to switch it? Driver dot switch to dot frame, and here you can pass frame 3. Right, so once it is switched, we're able to interact with the element. All right, now we can see we are able to interact with the first element in the frame 1, second element in the frame 2, third element in the frame 3. So now currently our driver is present inside the frame 3. Now we have to interact with the iFrame inside the frame. So this is the frame, so which contains multiple elements. Again, if I look at here, there are some radio buttons, there are some check boxes, and there is a drop down. There are multiple things are there. So let us try to interact with some element. Here I just want to select some of the checkbox or radio button, whatever you want, and these elements are present inside the iFrame. So this is inner frame basically. Okay, fine. So currently we are in frame 3 itself. In the frame 3 itself, we are interacting with the inner frame, inner iFrame. So which is a part of frame 3 itself. Okay, which is a part of frame 3 itself. Now, so how to interact with the inner iframe? So the concept is, so before interacting with the inner iframe, we have to first go to outer frame. Okay, this is a frame, and this contains another frame, and here our element is there. Okay, so first we need to switch to the outer frame. So this is our outer frame, and from here we switch to the inner frame, and then we have to interact with this element. Okay, so once we have interacted with this element, again I want to go back to the main page. How to go back? So our driver is locked here, right? So we need to directly go back to the main page. How to go back to the main page? Same command. Only one time we have to use. You don't need to write multiple times. Okay, even though it is a single frame or even though it is a multiple frames, it doesn't matter. Only one time if you write default content, wherever our driver is present, from there it will directly go back to the page. So first we need to go to outer iframe, then I will go to inner iframe directly, and once you have done the job here, then we go back to the main page. So let us say this outer frame is 3. So we are already there in the frame 3. Now from frame 3 to, we have to go to the inside the frame, inner iframe, right? So how to go to this inner iframe? So if this frame is having ID or name, we can directly use it, or we can get this as a web element, or by using index also we can do it. By using index also we can do it. But when you have to prefer the index, if you have only one single frame in your web page, then you can choose index concept. Actually, this index we cannot get from anywhere else. Even in HTML also we cannot find it. So when we have to prefer index means if you have only one single frame on the web page, then you will prefer indexing concept. Okay. So for example, there is a page. Let us say I have multiple frames. How we will know the index of this one, index of this, index of this? Index is start from 0 only. 0, 1, 2. Okay. Now when I say 0, 1, 2, which frame is index is 0, which frame index is 1, which one is 2? We don't know, right? So that is the reason if you have a multiple frames, it is very difficult to use indexing here. Index means just we need to pass the 0, 1, 2 like this. And if you have a multiple frames, we don't know which one index is 0, which one index is 1, which one index is 2. So we don't prefer this. But if you have only single frame in this page, obviously the index of the page is index of the frame is what? 0 only. Okay. So whenever you find only one single frame on the web page, go to the index concept. You can directly use 0. Driver dot switch to dot frame, and you can just pass 0. And if ID name is available, you can directly pass them. And if nothing is available, get the frame as a web element and then use it. Okay. So now what I'll do is in this iframe 3, inside the iframe 3, we have another frame, and there is only one iframe here. Inside the frame 3, there is only one inside iframe. So I'll try to use index concept. Okay. So what I will do is here, driver dot switch to dot frame 0. Okay, why I'm using 0? Because there is only one frame. So I'm using index. So switching to frame using index. Okay, index. So this will directly switch to the inner iframe. So you don't need to get as a web element. Again, you don't need to use it in the frame. Nothing. Only one single statement. So that's the reason sometimes if you have ID or name, it will be very easy for you. So driver dot switch to dot frame of 0. This will switch to the inner iframe. Now we need to interact with some element. So how to interact with the element? Suppose here I have multiple elements. Now I want to select one of the radio button here. I want to select this. How to select? Inspect this element, only this element. Okay, and if I look at this HTML, this is a div element, right? And inside this, there is another div element. And see, you don't find any proper attributes or anything, right? So what we can do is you can get the location of the page directly. Wait just a second. Yeah, here it is. See, I'm trying to get this element because I don't see any attributes for this element. Let's say I want to select this checkbox, second radio button. I am a human, and this element is actually present inside this div. You can see here inside this div, and inside this div, okay, this is another div element, and in this div element there is another div element, and here this is the actual element. Class equal to something is there, right? So this is the actual element. So this element we want to capture, and this is a part of inner iframe. And the selector have will not give you inner iframe. It is just giving only outer iframe. So now we need to interact with this element. Okay, so let us see how to interact. So what is the attribute we have in this is class. There is only one attribute called class. So let us try to use this attribute to locate the radio button directly. So I'm trying to use it and go to selector hub. And div is a tag. You can say div and directly at the rate specify this. So I'm trying to use class attribute of the element. So 0 element. Why? Because this element is part of the inner iframe. So we cannot directly go there. So now this element is a part of this above div tag, and this is again part of this above div tag. And again, this is a part of main div tag here. Okay, so what I'll do is I will also try to use another attribute, or what we can do is we need to capture the link of this particular page so that we can directly open the page and we can get the elements. So you can just see, you need to find embedded page where exactly this iframe. Okay, if I just scroll up, you can just scroll up a little bit like this. Okay, first of all, let's go to the, yeah, this is the actual iframe, guys. Okay, so this is a part of the frame 3. If I look at here, first go to the frame 3 directly. So inside the frame 3, we have inner iframe, right? So just expand this frame 3. And in this, you can see document, expand it, and expand HTML one more time. And if you just scroll down, you can see one more tag called iframe, right? Actually, this is the link of this inner iframe. This is the link actually. Okay, you can just copy this link because it will be very easy to locating elements. Just copy this src link, this src attribute, and open that link in another page. Okay, so once you open, now you can see the actual page. This is the actual page that is embedded into frame 3. So while capturing this URL and open this in another page, and you can see this. Now here you can easily recognize these elements. Now I'm inspecting this element. I'm a human. And here you can find Xpath and everything very easily because this is the direct page. So if I go back and selector hub, now this is given relative Xpath directly for this element. See, this one element is matching. So now you can use this radio button Xpath directly in your automation script. So here I can say driver dot find element by dot Xpath. This is the element. Okay, dot click. So this is how we can capture the elements which are there in the iframe. So because this is somehow we will feel difficulty because this is inner iframe. If you, even though if you write a right locator here, selector hub cannot go inside the iframe and find that element. So we are doubt about this, whether our locator is correctly identifying locator or not. So what we need to do, we need to directly go to this URL of the web page and open that URL in another page. You will get the plain form or page. And here you can easily locate element, and whichever element you want to interact, you can get the locator for that element and you can use it here. So here I'm selecting one radio button, which is there inside the inner frame. Okay. So let us save it and then execute. Okay, just observe, we are able to interact with the radio button, which is got selected. And similarly, you can also locate any of this element and you can also select the checkbox. And drop downs is still not discussed. So I'll leave this for now. You can handle these elements. Okay. So once it is done, again, how to come back to the main page? Again, default content, driver dot switch to dot default content, which we can use to come out from the page. So this will come out from the page. Okay, so like this, we can run the code again. Okay, now it is perfectly working fine. Okay, sometimes if it is not able to interact with this element, you will get some element intercepted exception, element clickable exception. Okay, sometimes you may get those type of exceptions. So how to handle them? Instead of directly clicking on this element, try to use JavaScript executor. Okay, in the next sessions, I will detail explain about this. Suppose if you want to do the same action by using JavaScript executor, first we need to capture this element in a variable. Let us say I'm storing this element. So this is my radio button. And this is a web element. Okay, so once you get an element, now we need to click on this element using JavaScript executor. So for that, we need to create, we need to assign the driver to JavaScript executor. So I can say JavaScript, and we have a separate session for this JavaScript executor alone. There are a lot of things we need to understand this. For now, just I'm giving workaround. If something is not working directly, you can use this alternatively. And whenever you are getting element intercepted exception, element is not clickable exception, especially when you get these two exceptions, you can try this. JavaScript executor JS equal to, will assign the driver to this JavaScript executor after typecasting this. JavaScript executor. So we need to import this JavaScript executor from org-openq.selenium. And once we have done it, now by using JS, we have to call one method called execute script. Just execute script JS dot execute script. And here we need to pass two parameters. The first parameters is arguments of 0, comma, arguments of 0 dot click. We need to call a method called click, semicolon. And here we have to pass element. On which element you have to click, you can pass it. So for radio button, checkbox, link, normal button, for everything, this is the same process. Get the element and use this JavaScript executor. So this will also do the same thing. So instead of directly clicking on this element, selecting the radio button, I'm getting the radio button into variable, and through JavaScript executor, I'm performing the action. Okay, so this will also do the same job. Okay, very simple. So this is how we can handle the frames. Only thing is you need to remember this command. Okay. So yesterday we have already discussed about checkboxes concept. So please check that one. So yesterday we have, I think yesterday only, we have discussed more about checkboxes, how to select specific checkbox, how to select multiple checkboxes, how to select a few checkboxes based on the condition. So we already covered that concept. Please go through yesterday's session. If you're not attended, please go through the videos. Okay. So guys, are you clear, everyone? So how to handle the frames? Okay, so far we have learned three types of switching commands. Three types of switching commands. Do you guys remember? There are three types of switching commands we learned. Or we can say switching methods. How to switch between the browser windows. Do you guys remember how to switch between the browser windows? Second concept, switch between the alerts. Switch between the, how to switch between the alerts. Now today's concept is how to switch between the frames. How to switch between the browser windows, one browser window to another browser window. The command is what? Driver dot switch to dot window. Right here we have to pass window handle. Right, window ID we have to pass driver dot switch dot window. So here we have to pass window ID or window handle. And how to get window ID or window handle? By using get window handle or get window handles. Right, so this we already covered. Now to switch between the alerts, what is the command we use? Driver dot switch to dot alert. Okay, this command we have to use, which will return the alert. And to close the alert window, by using OK or by using cancel button, we have to call accept or dismiss. Accept we discussed, and this is another method is what? Dismiss. Right, so this is also we discussed last class. Now today we discussed about switch between the frames. How to switch between the frames? Driver dot switch to dot frame. Here we can pass ID if it is available, In the coming sessions, we will see so many frames. Okay. So alternatively, I will try to use ID sometimes, a name sometimes. And today we already seen web element. So multiple things. And index also sometimes we can use. If you have only single frame, we can use index also. Sorry, ID. So here you can use name. If the name is available for the frame, you can also use name availability. And then you can also pass frame as a web element. So different things. So these are three types of switch commands. We can switch between the browser windows. We can switch between the alerts. We can switch between the frames. Okay. So just remember this very important concepts. Now, I will give you one assignment based on this frames topic. You guys can try on the same web page. Okay, on the same frame. Actually, I have another assignment. I will also give you in the notepad later. So for the in this particular frame, so what you have to do is, as part of assignment, you need to go to the frame 5. So in the frame 5, there is an input box. Okay. And you can interact with this input box if possible. Also, in the frame 5, there is a one link here. Okay, there is a one link. You need to click on this link. So once you click on this link, it will open another frame. You can see another page. So once you click on that link, then it will open the page, dynamic page. Okay, so now we need to go to this particular page. You need to again switch to this particular frame, and you can do whatever operations you want. You can just check this logo present or not. Or you can just click on something, whatever you want. There are so many links, so many elements, and this is some search box, email address field you can interact. So you can do whatever you want on this. And how we will get this? You have to click on this link. This is initial stage. So you need to click on this link in the frame 5, and then you will get this page. So again, this is the inner frame. Okay, inside the frame 5, you will find another frame. So try to interact with these elements. This is one assignment, and also I will give you another assignment. You guys can try that. I forgot that page. Later I will copy in a notepad. Right. So go to this page and go to 5th frame or switch to the 5th. Right. Switch to 5th frame and click on the link, opens a new iframe, switch to inner frame and check logo presence in the inner frame. So this is the one, present or not, you can check. This is one assignment, and I will also add one more assignment. You guys can check just a second. Give me a few seconds. I'm trying to find out that page. So this is all for today's session. Okay, I will stop here because I need to start another concept, but that will take another 1 hour time. So tomorrow we'll skip the tomorrow session. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can ask, or else we'll wind up the session.